Jango, the scent of trouble. In the heart of the kingdom of Zambara, where the sun kissed the golden savanna and the drums whispered secrets through the trees, lived a man named Jango. He was a humble craftsman, known for his skill in shaping wood into masterpieces. His hands built thrones for kings and cribs for newborns. Jango led a simple life, his heart set on rising to become the chief artisan of the royal court. But fate had other plans. One day, Jango's life changed forever. He had courted a woman named Alitash, a beauty with eyes like twilight and a temper like fire. Their love was passionate but fleeting. Alitash wanted to marry Jango, but he was career-focused, not marriage-focused. "But, Jango, don't you know how I feel about you? How can I imagine my life without you?" "You must," he said. When Jango chose his craft over their relationship, Alitash was furious. She began yelling angrily and left him with words that clung to his soul like a curse. "May every woman seek you as I did, and may you never know peace." First, Jango thought little of what she screamed at him. When it was said and done, he had peace. She wasn't yelling at him. And using his hands to make beautiful wood furniture was his peace. A few weeks later, there was an accident in his workshop. A bottle of rare oils used for royal carvings tumbled over and spilled, seeping into his skin. The scents mixed, and something within him awakened. From that day, Jango exuded an irresistible aura. His pheromones became a spellbinding force, drawing women from every corner of the kingdom. Alitash thought, "If he doesn't want me, then maybe he wants everyone else, so let him have them." His sexuality interfered with his work. It interrupted his thoughts and his craftsmanship. He was consumed by thoughts of romance and women, although he resisted. He resisted all day and all night, every day and every night. He was not only trying to be a good man, he was all about work and not so much about play. When he walked through the market women abandoned their stalls to follow him. The wives of elders giggled like maidens when he passed. Even the queen herself found excuses to summon him to the palace. Women whispered his name in reverence and desire. Jango. Jango. Jango became a celebrity, an idol almost. Jango, however, was not pleased. He hated the attention. His work suffered. Clients grew impatient. He could barely walk through the town without being surrounded by angry men whose furniture was not finished and delivered. Then, he was surrounded by women who admired him and vied for his attention. Then he was surrounded by more men who were angry at him because their women were paying him too much attention. Jango sought help. He visited healers, who bathed everything from his feet to his whole body in herbs. He consulted elders, who read bones and did all kinds of things that you are not supposed to do if you are a man of faith. They warned him that Alitash's words were a curse, and that curse and the oils had fused into his very being. The healers warned him that this was only the beginning and that he must do something about it, or it would change him, and change him for the worse. But Jango didn't listen to them. He was a man of faith, even though he was doing things that men of faith don't do, but he decided that by sheer willpower he would fight this curse. This is no ordinary affliction, Jango. At one point it will seem like a blessing, but it is really a curse. Right now, Jango, you are a man of desire, but desire can burn all it touches. Months passed. Jango had completed only 2 projects, whereas he used to complete 2 projects or more every week. He was falling so far behind. As the days turned into months, Jango grew weary. The attention turned into chaos. Rivalries formed among women who sought his affection. His home was surrounded day and night. Jango became a prisoner of his own allure. He was exhausted. He would try to stay up at night to complete projects, but a wave of exhaustion would come over him like clockwork, and he'd just fall asleep, not completing much at all. Desperate, he sought out Alitash. The healers said she had something to do with this. Maybe she could take back those words that he didn't think much of at the time when he last saw her, and she was screaming at him. "May every woman seek you as I did, and may you never know peace." He started looking for her and looked for weeks and weeks, but Alitash must have been the only woman in the kingdom who was not following him or looking for him. Eventually, he stopped looking for her and decided to concentrate on building furniture, since that is why he shunned marriage to Alitash in the first place. "Get back to work, Jango," he told himself. He couldn't find Alitash, but she could find him. What Jango didn't know is that every night she visited him. She was obsessed with him even more than the women who followed him in town. Every night after the sleep wave would come over him and he couldn't stay awake any longer, he would have to give in to sleep. When Jango was in the deepest sleep that a man can have, Alitash would suddenly appear in his bedroom. He never knew she was there. This was part of her craft. First, she would just stand there trying to catch him with another woman, but he was not about that. As a matter of fact, he was resisting all kinds of urges for a man of his youthful vigor. She became even more angry that she was wrong about him cheating on her. Even though Jango exuded sex appeal, giving off that aura when he was around women who were attracted to him, he still didn't give in to those impulses. This was his way of fighting the curse. So Alitash devised a new plan. She found a way to make Jango's new popularity work for her. Through her craft, she began to withdraw Jango's essence from him and bottle it. Alitash chuckled to herself. "He denied me for his craft, now watch me work my craft on him." Through withdrawing and bottling just a bit of Jango's essence, she mixed it with certain liquids and other potions, then put it for sale in her shop front and center. She blatantly named the fragrance Jango. Women came from near and far to buy it for their husbands, for their boyfriends and fiancés. Every time a woman bought a bottle of the fragrance, that woman stopped following Jango. It's as though she had his scent in her home at her beck and call. She could use it on her own husband and her wild desires would be fulfilled. For some reason unknown to him, even though he was still popular, fewer women were following him as he went about his daily business. He was getting more and more peace and less chaos in his life day by day. Maybe the curse was wearing off, he thought. He hoped. Maybe the healer's baths had worked. Whatever, he didn't care, he just wanted some peace and quiet and to do his woodworking. But still, he was waking up more and more exhausted every morning and still didn't know why. Why? He was being drained of his essence every night by beautiful Alitash. She never looked to be the type. She was so sweet and innocent looking, but her fiery temper was hidden from everyone. Her sense of entitlement, jealousy, and revenge was off the charts, but she was determined to do it in secret to maintain her good girl image. This spell, not getting rest at night, losing business and money, was changing him, making him into a cranky, evil person. He was finishing fewer and fewer projects and was running lower and lower on money. One day he was working on a piece and began to sweat over it because of the heat of the day and the stress he was under to quickly finish the piece. He mustn't stop, he must push forward. So he continued and polished the piece to a glowing shine, making it ready for his customer. When the customer came to pick it up, she was enchanted with it. When her husband took the piece out to take it home, she paid Jango 5 times what he charged for it. Then she ordered 4 more pieces immediately. Looks like things just turned around financially for Jango. He was thankful. Even though he hadn't prayed about any of what he was going through or against that curse Alitash put on him or even his finances, he still thanked God when he got this financial breakthrough. Everyone who saw any piece of furniture Jango built oohed and awed and asked where it came from. Jango. Word of his excellent work spread quickly. He was getting orders and was backed up for months. He would need to hire more help to complete these orders, but unless Jango made the piece, his customers were not satisfied. That didn't bother him because he was making a lot of money. He would just make every piece himself, and that was that. As long as he told the customer when to expect the piece, they were very agreeable. They were going to get a Jango. A Jango, they'd wait for that. People wanted his work so much that they would pay him much more than he normally charged. One day, he was making a baby's crib. It moved him so much that he cried. He really did want a wife and children, a happy home. Again, he thought he must seek Alitash, but forgot about that when that customer showed up and saw the piece that he had cried into, they paid him 10 times his fee. One careless day, he was sanding the arm of a carved chair and cut his finger. He bled on that piece. He tried to clean it up, but it is hard to get blood out of anything. When the piece was delivered, the customer paid him 20 times more than his regular fee. Jango was no dummy. He had figured it out. Finally, the queen received a table that he had made and sweated over and into, and it was now her favorite table. She asked him if he would consider working only for the palace and not the kingdom at large. That was his dream, to be chief artisan at the palace. He was making lots of money, but being chief artisan in the palace would allow him to meet other royalty and get even greater fees for his work. Jango was becoming prideful, haughty, and greedy. Gleefully, he had started looking for Alitash again. If she held the key to his newfound success, there is no way he would ever want to let her go. What if she took what he believed was magic off of him and gave it to another? He couldn't stand the thought of that. He had to find her. He had to have her. He had to marry her. Kept looking until this time he found her. She was by the riverbank, her beauty as fierce as ever. She may have been even more beautiful than before. The entire world even looked better and was more beautiful now that Jango was enjoying so much success. He knelt before her, determined, but he didn't want to look desperate, it might turn her off. Alitash, your words have changed my life. Well, that was true. Jango continued. I see now that love, neglected, turns to torment. I have been tormented without you. Part of that was true, too. He was tormented by all the women chasing him and all the men upset with him. He had been tormented with worry when he was running out of money. Jango was tormented losing sleep at night, but he had hardly thought of Alitash, except now when he wanted something she has. Alitash gazed at him, her heart softened but pleased by his suffering. She loved the feeling of making him as miserable as she had been. She said, "Jango, you had power over my heart, but you threw it away." Jango finally had the commission of the palace and was longing for a family with children, so he proposed to Alitash. She refused, saying, "I cannot give up my shop. It is so popular and the ladies who shop there really need she stammered, what I sell." "What shop?" She told him that she had a fragrance boutique. "Oh, what type of fragrances?" "Exotic fragrances?" "From all over the world?" he asked. "Yeah, no." She evaded the question and gave no answer. "I don't want you to close your shop." "No? Do you want me to renounce my words I spoke over you?" Alitash knew that if she removed the curse, the essence would no longer be available to her, and she would have to close her fragrance shop. Even if he asked her to take her words back, she wouldn't. "No, Alitash, I forgive you. Don't worry about anything you said in anger. Keep your shop open, just be yourself, but we can still get married and be together, can't we?" "Yes, we can," Alitash said. It was at this point that the two of them decided to use one another. What kind of marriage would this be? Jango had figured it out. His sweat made him 5 times his regular price. His tears earned him 10 times more, and his blood earned him the most. Marrying Alitash was his insurance to keep bringing in that money. Jango said that he had now realized that the sweat he put into the furniture he made the difference and was earning him a lot of money. Alitash didn't care about what money he was making because she was making plenty on her own. And as long as all those women weren't following him like stray cats, he said he was happy, forgetting that he woke up exhausted every morning. That was unusual for someone under 30 years old. Alitash realized that she could get all of his essence that she wanted if they were married and lived together. She could increase her business, maybe even open another boutique in a neighboring kingdom. Jango wasn't the only ambitious one. And he wasn't the only crafty one. Jango essence was everywhere. Everyone in the kingdom began to smell like Jango. From the bottled essence in Alitash's boutique to the sweat and tears in his furniture pieces, how could it not? He returned to his craft knowing that true fulfillment comes not from being wanted by everyone, but when the work of your hands is desired and appreciated. He added, "And you are well paid. When your work is glorious. When it is Jango. Jango. Jango." This artisan was becoming more and more prideful and had fallen in love with himself and his own hands. He now felt free to pursue his dreams and be extremely well paid. He decided that he would tell the queen that he would work exclusively for the palace. But his real plan was to take jobs on the side when the queen wasn't looking. He would make pieces for other people doing side jobs. The money was too good. Jango never used to be like this, but it is as though he got bribed by the money. All that money coming in. He got enticed by it, and he didn't even know who was at the other end of the bribe. As long as you put your heart, your blood, sweat, and tears into your work, you will be successful, he would say. For Jango, that was literal. The couple got married in a lavish wedding and would have lived happily ever after, But Alitash had sold her soul to the devil to cast that curse on Jango, and then sold it again to draw out Jango's essence to make money off of his misery. And Jango had not arisen to his full responsibility by knowing there was a curse on him and doing nothing about it. Jango could have broken that curse himself, but he did not. He was using that curse also to make money. Jango was sweating to finish his furniture pieces. But sometimes he cried on purpose or cut himself on purpose to bleed into the wood grain so the customer would be moved to give him an exorbitant amount of money. He wasn't just selling his soul every day, he was draining it and selling his body fluids in a very real sense. And still waking up exhausted every morning. The answer was right in front of him, but he chose not to see it. He said he was a man of faith, but he didn't exercise that faith. He should have known better, but didn't do better because the money turned his head. By doing nothing, he let Alitash's curse spread all over the kingdom. This made him as guilty as she was. They started fighting again. They weren't getting along. It's as though they didn't know how to get along. Time seemed to drag every day, each morning was dread. They aged years in a few short months. Neither looked beautiful anymore. One night, only a few months after their lavish wedding, the two of them went to bed angry, as was the new usual, and the next morning they never woke up. They each had to pay the devil. A strong wind blew through the kingdom of Zambara and took away all the smell of Jango and every bottle of Jango cologne. Jango's sweat and other body fluids in the furniture that he made caused accelerated rot and decay in those pieces because it was the sweat of a cursed man. All his pieces were eventually thrown out and set on fire. His furniture shop caught on fire and burned to the ground as well. Desire can burn all it touches. Desire can set fire to anything, especially when it is a wrong desire, a burning desire. Because of the wind and the fire, finally, the kingdom of Zambara felt they were free of Alitash's spell and Jango's smell. Those two were forgotten and never remembered again. There are several lessons to be learned from this tale. When someone has power over you, it can imprison you. If you let them continue to have power over you, it will get worse. Knowing to do right and not doing it is evil. When you buy something, anything, better know who made it and how much it really costs. Nothing should cost your blood, sweat, tears, or your essence or your life. Beware of careless curses, either speaking them or receiving them. Maybe you can think of other morals to be gained from this story. Write them in the comments. Thank you for viewing this Africa Untold Tale. Be sure to subscribe, share, like, and comment. Tune in again for another Africa Untold Tale of intrigue, mystery, drama, and suspense where legends come alive.